Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming here. Thank you for the invitation. It's really great to be here. As a designer, I think one of the key things is that you take the value of a company and you translate this into products. And to give you a good example of what that means, let me show you two airlines. Compagnie d'Aériens. With which one do you want to fly? Who wants to fly with the company Kandinsky? Okay, there's no right or wrong. Who wants to fly with Mondrian? Okay, a little bit more security. So, company Kandinsky actually had a very good safety record, but they couldn't really get their message across. So they hired an advertising agency, and 1 month later and 3 million euro later, they created this. Now my question to you is, do you feel a little bit better? Not really. And why is this? Because what you see and what you read is not really coherent. And you tend to believe what you see because 80% of our communication is visual. It's the part that is much stronger than the thing that you read. So you tend to believe what you see. Now, I call what you read is the strategy of a brand, the values that you want to communicate. What you see is the products that you design and the things that you create. And this is the design strategy. And if you are a good company, the brand strategy and the design strategy are coherent. And then you have a very strong virtuous circle. Kandinsky has a very good brand strategy, but I would argue their design strategy is not really great for an airline company. So when I arrived in the car company that I worked for in 2009, it wasn't really clear what they wanted to communicate. And when I looked at all the cars on the street, they all looked different. So at that point in time, you communicate confusion. So if confusion was a good strategy, and the sales would have been going up and image would have been rising, I would have just continued. But this was not the case. So the key became, what do we want to communicate? Now let me give you some basic information about brands. There's three types of brands. Essentially, you have brands that are car-centric. They play on horsepower, technology, performance. Cars by engineers for engineers. Lots of the German brands are in this category. Then you have brands that want to improve the world, are a little bit more amorphous. Many Asian companies are in this category. And in the center, you have some companies that have a more human-centric approach. They put the human at the center of the activities. And the company I work for, I'm not allowed to say the name, so the company I work for is clearly a human-centric company. But also other French companies and also Swedish companies fall in this category. So the challenge for me as a designer became to translate the values of a human company, human values, companies that talk about life, voiture à vivre, and use them to inspire and to find a strategy. Now, the difficulty is very often is we make a lot of different types of cars. We make vehicles that are a little bit iconic, like a Twingo or an Alpine. We make vehicles that are crossovers, like Koleos. We make family vehicles. We make vehicles that are commercial vehicles. We do sports cars. We do electric cars. So really, there was not a lot of thread, no red thread in this lineup. So inspired by the values of life and inspired by the human values, I thought about the cycle of life. And I thought, life starts, of course, with light, we have seen, but life also starts with love, with falling in love. Without love, no life. I thought that could be our iconic cars. Then you found your partner, you want to travel the world, so you explore the world. crossovers. Things go well, you want to start a family, family vehicles. Reality hits, you have to work. At least I do. I know you are students. You don't have to work yet, but you will. Commercial vehicles. Then you want to have some fun, you want to play, run a sport, and then even some of us achieve wisdom. Electric vehicles, hybrids, experimental vehicles. And then life starts all over again. So this became the strategy for our design. And it allowed us, in fact, to create a link with everyone. If you have just fallen in love, we have a car for you. If you just started a family, we have a car for you. If you want to work, come to us. So we tried to illustrate these cars with a lot of concepts. And starting with love, I'm not sure about you guys, but it's not a very intellectual thing. It's very instinctive. It's very visual, in my case. And so I asked my team to develop a Laetitia Castor on 4 wheels. And this was the sketch we chose. Very voluptuous, red, of course, color of passion. A sports car for 2 people. Because falling in love, you don't do with 3 people. A car that is very sensual, because we're human. And this became Desire, our first concept car in 2010, which is not a race car. It's actually a story of love. The car is red. The car has goosebumps, like when you see a pretty girl. The car even has wedding rings on the side, but they're not connected yet because c'est pas gagné. The car has doors that open up, male and female, in 2 different directions. And when you're inside, you're sitting on a cloud because you're in 7th heaven. And we put 6 million red LEDs inside the car that light up and beat like a heart. Only in France can you do this, by the way. Then we created a second vehicle, Capture, to go out, to discover the world. A crossover, obviously dynamic, young, go anywhere, do anything, for 2 people plus luggage, because it was planned this time. A car that opens up to the world, a car that really lets you discover the world and take anything and anything with you. We followed with a family car, Espace, a car for, how can I say, a family car, an MPV, for parents that are still in love. Because I felt that the previous Scenic looked too platonic. It was like the parents had become the driver of their kids, the chauffeur. So we designed a car that has very sensual shapes, very nice interior, an interior very romantic for the parents, very ludique for the kids, and to show that the parents were still in love, we connected the seats. Then we did work, and this is the image my team gave me when I asked them, find me an image of work. I won't comment. A Kangoo for the future, a vehicle that is used for work during the week, for family during the weekend. So it's asymmetrical. A vehicle that is one side digital, functional, etc. One side more family-orientated, the doors open up, and the digital screen has become a blackboard inside for the kids to play on. And finally, Play, a small vehicle that should be fun, allows everyone to drive in a city, a vehicle that we designed together with a very well-known designer, Ross Lovegrove, a Welsh designer, and we showed this not in a traditional car show, but at the Salone di Mobile in Milan. Finally, Wisdom, a vehicle for a modern family, lightweight, aerodynamic, with the map of Paris in the roof. A vehicle that is really a very interesting, modern, lightweight, connected vehicle. This series of cars told and illustrated, if you will, the story that we wanted to tell. But of course, we needed to make sure that there was something that connected all these different vehicles. And this became the face of the car. And this is important because a good identity is one that you recognize without a logo. So I would argue to say that if we now take the logo of our cars, you can still recognize them for the brand that we are. Then we gave all these cars a lineup, so they're clearly identifiable, different colors, because people had told me, Lawrence, all our cars look so gray. Why do you have color material designers? So we started to also introduce the cycle of color to these first concept cars, to make life more colorful, to make life more beautiful on the streets. And then, because concept cars are a promise, the question is, can you keep the promise and turn it into reality? And this became the vehicle lineup that you see today on the streets. Now we're working on the second generation, and in fact, we're just starting this second generation. And the second generation of concept cars will become more experimental, because the challenges that we face and the changes that are coming at us with lightning speed are going to force us to rethink the car. But we couldn't resist to start again with a beautiful design statement, and this became Trésor. The idea of Trésor was that it wasn't love at first sight, like you had seen with the Désir. It was more the moment where you have been together for 5 or 6 years, and maybe you're going to pop the question. And maybe you know this moment where maybe you don't know this yet, where somebody opens up a little jewelry box for you and drops on one knee. So we developed the Trésor. Not a very practical car. But then again, love isn't really practical. So it's a car where you have to slide in, and once you're in, it's really hard to get out. And if it closes, it's like you're driving on Mars, you know? So, but a car that has interesting surfaces, also a story to tell, and really, really an interesting car that is going to influence us for the future to come. And a second vehicle, which I want to tell you a little bit more about, it's called Symbiosis. I heard the word being named in the video that we saw a little bit earlier this evening. And this is really about how we see mobility in the future once cars will become more autonomous, more electric, more connected. And I think the place that a car will take into your life, where now it's a separate object that you have to go and get, separate from your daily life, it will become more and more connected. It will become part of your ecosystem. It will become an integral part of your ecosystem because it will be able to share data with all the objects around you, all the family members that you might have. It will be able to share energy. It might be able to be charged by your house, or it might actually charge your house. And it might be able to share space. And this vehicle became Symbiosis, the name for two objects that live together in a very positive way. The vehicle actually adapts itself to humans. You can decide whether you want to drive. You can decide to be driven. Or you can let the car take over and you just give it your destination. And then it becomes what they call now a robotaxi. The steering wheel disappears and the car will just take you to your destination. And there's this little choreography of the changing interior that adapts itself to a new situation of mobility. In fact, the car becomes more and more an extension of your house. So we developed it like a house. It's not a traditional car interior, which is more inspired by a coach or a horse. One of the reasons you have leather in a car is because we used to ride horses on a saddle. One of the reasons we have a steering wheel is because you used to take the reins of a horse. So once the car becomes transportation, it could become more the way you have a house. And so we said, not just the dream of a car designer, let's develop the house with it. So we designed not only the car, but also the house. And this was quite interesting, and it shows you I had to do some convincing inside the company to get this through. But in the end, people like a good story. So we went ahead. And so this is not just a dream of a car designer, although I would love to park the car in my house, to be honest. But we think if the car is becoming intelligent, if you only use it 7% of the time, if it becomes really a technological marvel, why wouldn't you want to enjoy it more? Why not put it in your house and use it as an extra room? Because, let's face it, you do many things in your car that you would like to do elsewhere too. Many parents, the only time they talk to their children is when they drive. It's the perfect place to listen to music. It's a perfect place to escape for a little bit. It's a place where you could, how can I say, try to have some privacy, or, if you will, enjoy yourselves. So the whole interior was designed as if it was a physical part of the house. And because the car is autonomous, that means it can drive itself, it could park itself on the roof. And this is not only a dream come true, but it shows some of the first ideas of how mobility of the future will adapt itself to humans, how we will try to take all these new technologies and turn them into something that is truly exciting to make the world and mobility, how can I say, to make your lives easier, to make your lives more beautiful, and to make your lives more worth living. Thank you very much.